I would like to wish all the mothers out there a happy Mother's Day. On this May Day, mothers are special in our lives. One thing everybody can say, we've had one or we've got one. You got to have a mother. And they're all special in our lives. And I hope your relationship with your mother on this May Day is a blessed one. And that you look forward to seeing your mother. And if for some reason out there that there's a little division between you and your mother, I want to encourage you. Life is too short. Make amends of that. And reconcile with your mother. Because that God will be blessed with that, and God will be pleased with that. But if you have your Bibles, if you will turn to 2 Timothy, just one scripture here. Actually, 3 scriptures. 2 Timothy 1, 5 through 7. And this is Paul addressing Timothy. Timothy was a Gentile that became part of his entourage, or he would follow Paul around. But he was a Gentile. He was born, his mother was a Gentile, and his father was a Jew, if I'm not mistaken. I'm hoping I got that right. But Paul adopted him and brought him into the ministry. But starting in the 5th verse, he says, "And when I call to remembrance the unfaded faith that is in thee, which dwelt first in thy grandmother Lois, and thy mother Eunice, and I am persuaded that in thee also. Therefore I put thee in remembrance that thou stir up the gift of God, which is in thee by putting on of my hands. For God has not given us a spirit of fear, but of power and of love and of a sound mind." And so on this Mother's Day, I just want to minister for a short while about mothers and the impact that mothers have in our lives. A poem by Catherine Dacus, published in March of 2015, says, "Baby dolls and dinosaurs, one that cries, one that roars, the pitter-patter of little feet, a bike race in which they want you to compete, fruity pebbles, pancakes, no wait, Pop-Tarts, those daily moments that steals your heart. One throws tantrums, the other just pouts. Ah, the joyhoods of mother, what life is all about. Another birthday, 2 paychecks and all, but it's so worth it with smiling memories hanging on the wall. From late night tears to early morning grumps, through all the bruises, scrapes, and bumps, the hugs and kisses, the encouraging words, from nursery rhymes to the birds and the bees, the laughter, the memories, those looks in their eyes. Never traded for a moment, never compromise. The toys left out, the clothes on the floor, these are the moments you mothers live for. For we are the ones who were through it all. You mothers were the ones who were through it all. To always make it better and pick them up when they fall. From kissing their bobos to making sure they're fed. Passing down stories while tucking them into bed. Through the weight gains, cravings, labor, and more. To that one special moment you spend 9 months waiting for. 18 years is what they say, but your work is never done. A lifetime of tears, laughter, sadness, and fun. Nothing in the world can ever come close to the one special bond God made matter the most. A relationship only 2 certain people can share, a mother and her child. Nothing will ever compare. The mother and her children is an extraordinary thing. It's an amazing thing, the parental instincts that God has instilled into a mother. And yet, during my ministry, it's sad to say that I have seen and I have witnessed mothers who have not appreciated their children. Mothers who looked at their children as more as they inconvenience and as a bother and as an annoyance than what they were, and that was a treasure. A mother will see her children as treasures, and you can't change that. While the father sleeps through a severe thunderstorm, lightning and clapping all around the house, the father can sleep through it. But the mother, through all that noise, will hear the whimper of her little child, scared of the lightning and scared of the thunder. It's an amazing thing how a mother can pick out the cry of her child in a crowd of 1,000 people. All it takes is her child crying, and she picks it up and she hones in on it. Mothers are special. And yet, in our society today, and the way things are, there's an effort out to diminish the importance of motherhood, or to make light of it, or to deny women that one precious thing, and that is childbearing and raising up a child. That is so precious. In her push a couple years ago, in her push of her extremist views, Alexandria Cortez, a congressman from New York, suggested that the question of whether to have children at all is legitimate. At the same time, Cortez advocates that taxpayers should fund all abortion in the United States. There are few actions more despicable than telling a mother that her child will live in some indestructible, catastrophic future. But she can avoid that and perhaps even make a planet a better place by ending her child's life in taxpayer-funded abortion. The minimizing of life that a mother so valuably holds true and holds dear. And then yet CNN political commentator Christine Quinn said on CNN on Monday night, May 8th of 2019, a member of the Democratic Party, she formerly served as a speaker of the New York City Council. When a woman gets pregnant, that is not a human being inside of her. It is part of her body, and this about a woman having full agency and control of her body and making decisions about her body with medical professionals. The diminishing of life that mothers hold dear and trying to change people's concepts of life. But it won't work. It leaves a catastrophic picture. She talks about raising children in a catastrophic world, but she doesn't realize the catastrophic destruction of a woman wondering if that's her child after she's given an abortion, because parental instincts, that motherhood kicks in. It is so very rare and so very valuable. A mother and the instinct to protect her children. I want to encourage you again, as I mentioned in the beginning, if you find yourself estranged from your mother, if you find that you and your mother are not on the same level, so to speak, I want to encourage you to reconcile that situation. Don't wait for her to come to you, but go to her. You will be better. You will feel so much better. It's not a question of who is right or wrong. It's not a question about what was done or what not was done. The question is, you love your mother and you respect your mother, no matter what. The Bible tells us about fools who does not respect their mother. Men that are wise when they consider their father's counsel, but fool if they reject their mother. They're considered fools because mothers are special. They are the ones, the referees, so to speak, sometimes in a household. Between the father trying to minister stern discipline maybe, or trying to bring the family to a certain path. And sometimes it is the mother that is the referee between her husband and the children. Because fathers can be sometimes a little demanding, a little pushy. But it's the mother that sees both sides. And it's the mother that will always come to the defense of her children. Fathers, I'll be talking about you during Father's Day. I'm not going to cut you no slack. But today is Mother's Day. And I want to remind the children out there, you've only got one mother. You may have a stepmother. You may have, several. I don't know. But if your mother is alive, you need to cherish that moment. You need to cherish that moment. Because one day, you're going to look back and say, oh, I wish I could go back and talk to my mother. But life has its course and life takes its journeys. But while the journey is still there, and while everything is still there, find valuable time with your mother. Tap into that marvelous wisdom and knowledge that she has. Because I can guarantee you haven't made a mistake that she hasn't either experienced or she hasn't seen herself. Hold dear to her valuable wisdom. We need to, in our society, in American society, we need to value more about our elders, our elderly parents, and not look at them as restriction. And if your mother comes to church, go to church with her. Those are valuable times that you can spend with your mother. Irreplaceable. Irreplaceable. And yet, what greater honor would there be than for you to come to church with her and sit down on that pew beside her? I wish I could. My mother passed away several years ago, but I wish I could go and sit down on a pew next to her if she went to church. And there are some mothers in our congregation. And I want to encourage the children, take advantage of this opportunity because life is short, life is fleeting. It's like a vapor. But your mothers are oh so special, so precious. Get them flowers. Just for no reason at all. Stop by and spend some time with them. When we would go to Indiana, my wife and me and my children, I would drop them off at the hotel in the evening time, 7, 8 o'clock after supper. And I would go up and I would talk to Mom. I would spend 4, 5, 6 hours sometimes up there just sitting with her and talking with her when she lived on that apartment on Ferry Street. And Mom always stayed up late, sometimes till 3 o'clock at night. So I would sometimes leave there at 2 o'clock in the morning and head back to the hotel where my family was. But my wife knew where I was, and I would always spend those times talking to her. And then when she moved in with my sisters, again, I would spend time just talking to her, just being with her. Those were special times. I don't never regret that. And then I try to tell my children, spend time with your mother. Because there's never no time wasted when you spend time with your mother. Your mother was there when you needed her. She was there through the tears, through the struggles of school. She defended you when the kids was picking on you. She defended you. There ain't nothing more dangerous. Trust me, there is nothing more dangerous than a mama who thinks that somebody is picking on her children. Boy, that's like an old ornery bear. She'll rear up, and boy, Katie, bar the doors, get out of my way. She one time when somebody hit my middle daughter there on the school bus, there at Lewiston Middle School, she marched right into that principal's office, and she said, "It will not happen again. I'm holding you responsible." And that principal said, "There's nothing I can do." And she said, "I don't care. You're going to be responsible if that happens again to my daughter." And guess what? It never happened again. They put cameras on the buses. But that's the way it is. Because Mama is going to protect her youngins. And if you have a mother in church, you can guarantee one thing: she is praying for you. A mom will not let go until you come to church. She will not let go until God saves your soul. She will not let go. I encourage that, because there are things that are still in us. As Paul told Timothy, I see the unfailing faith that you have. It was also in your grandmother and in your mother Eunice. And I see it's also in you. Things that his mother passed down to Timothy in serving the Lord and doing the work of the Lord. It's now instilled in him, but it was instilled by his mother. And how his mother instilled that into him. Hannah in the Bible in 1 Samuel is desperate for a child. It was a reproach for a woman. She felt reproached that she did not give her husband a man-child. And she was barren. And so she went to the temple and she prayed. And she got lost in the spirit. And she cried out, Lord, give me child, lest I die. And Eli heard her. At first he thought she was drunk, but she says, I'm not drunk. My soul is heavy. I want a child. And the Lord spoke to Eli and says, this time she will have a child. And Samuel came along. From the prayer of that desperate mother for a child, Samuel came along. And when Samuel was born, when he was weaned, her and her husband took him and gave it to the Lord. And there he spent his years ministering in the temple, helping Eli minister in that temple. And the Bible says every year Hannah would go and make him a coat. And every year she would take that coat to the temple and give it to her son. Every year. And yet Samuel grew up to be a mighty prophet, a mighty leader in Israel. He was the one that would anoint the first king of Israel in Saul. He would be the one who would anoint the second king of Israel in David. He was the one that also told Saul that God has rent the kingdom from you because you have not honored God. Saul was a mighty prophet of God. But it started with his mother and his mother's commitment and love for the Lord. And there is no greater thing that you can do, mothers, than to raise your children in the church. Oh, there's flaws, there's faults. Well, there is in everything. It's all how you make it out. I could spend hours telling you about the flaws and the faults of internet and TV and all that kind of stuff. But let them hear about the good things of God. How God saves people. How David and the giant. Jesus walking on the water. All these great stories that encourages you and inspires you. Bring your children to church. Instill godly values into them. They're going to learn enough wrong in their life. At least let them learn some godly values. That's what a mother can do. A mother is always there. Even when she's not. Even if she has to work. Her heart is with her babies. Her heart is there with her children. And when you're sick, she's sick. When you're feeling good, she's feeling good. When you're proud, she's proud. That's how a mother is. And they're special. They're special. And if you, like I said, if you're fortunate enough for your mother to live, I don't want to dig up any hard feelings or any bad emotions. But I know there's mothers here in our church, in our assembly, who would love to have their children set beside them on Mother's Day. Who would love to come and visit them at church when we have a cookout. They would love that. And I would encourage you to spend time, if your mother is still alive, take those precious times. This is Mother's Day. and we honor the mothers. Your mother, it is so true in what the saying is, the hand that rocks the cradle rules the world. It is so true. It was Moses' mother that weaned him in the house of Pharaoh. And it was Moses' mother that no doubt taught him that you are a Hebrew. You are not an Egyptian. You are a Hebrew. Hear, O Israel, the Lord our God is one Lord, one God. Egypt had 15 or more gods, but she instilled into Moses, God, our God is one. No doubt, because that was the driving force in Moses' life. Of him saying, I am not an Egyptian, but I am a Hebrew. And forsaking the riches of Egypt to endure affliction with God's people. It started with a mother making a basket of bulrush to put her child in. And all her hopes and all her dreams went with that basket as it floated down the Nile River. And as she sent her daughter Miriam, watch over the child, see what happens to her. She's back and she's wondering, what has become of my child? What has become? And no doubt she was glad when Miriam came and said, Pharaoh's daughter wants you to raise the child up to nurse it. God has a way of rewarding that. Mothers are special. I have many, many fond memories of my mother. And my mother, I was always glad when my mother disciplined me. Then wait for my dad to come home. My mom was very merciful. My dad loved us, but I tell you what, I wouldn't want my dad taking a switch to me like Mama did. Mama took a switch to me whenever I misbehaved. And back then when we was kids, they had jeans. These things, when you washed them, you threw them in the corner, they stand up. It took you 3 days to break in those jeans. They were so stiff and heavy. But yet when Mama swung that switch, you could feel every sting of it through those breeches. But she loved us. And she wanted to correct us. She did not want us to do bad. But she loved us too much to let us just do what we wanted to do. And with Mama, it was no negotiating. There was no negotiating. It was her way. That was her way. And that's what she did. But she loved us. And, she took care of us. She was always there for us. And I want to encourage you on this day to honor your mother. But there's never, what day is there not to honor your mother? Just because it's Mother's Day, don't let it end right there. Honor your mother all the time. When she asks you to do something, do it. Out of nowhere, just come by her house. And maybe have coffee with her or tea or whatever it is. Or bring her some flowers or whatever. Because, as I said, life is short. And you will value those moments. And next month it'll be Father's Day. I don't cut the fathers any slack. But today is a special day. I'm so glad, as I said, I have fond memories of my mom. My wife has fond memories of her mother and how her mother sacrificed so much to raise 10 kids by herself. But she was the best mother that she could possibly be. And what more can a child ask for than to be that way? My mom was the first one I was told about the girl that I had a crush on. So your mom's always going to be there. She was the first one when I scored the first 2 points when I played basketball in school. The first 2 points I scored, I came home and I said, Mama, I scored a basket today. She sat me down on bed. She told me to tell me all about it, son. And I told her how I was at Longloy School and they gave me the ball and I shot it and I put it in there. And you know what? She dug in her purse and she gave me a 50-cent piece. She said, here, now go buy you some candy. So that was great. Of course, 50 cents nowadays don't get you nothing, but back there in 68, 69, that'd buy you a whole mess of candy. So that was in 6th grade. But that's the way mamas are. But she was also there when I punched my when I was 7 years old, and I punched my 5-year-old sister in the stomach, and I saw my mama go tearing out through the kitchen door. I said, uh-oh, this isn't looking good. And then she came back in with a switch, and she says, she grabbed me by the arm, and I ran circles around in that living room as she hit me with that switch. And she said, you don't punch your little sister in the stomach. You don't hit girls. You don't punch your sister. And I said, yes, Mama, I understand. I understand. But you know what? I didn't hit girls. Nowadays they say that's cruelty. It's not cruelty. It instilled something into me of values. And my mama loved me. Now, today we can't do that. But we got to realize we've got to love our children enough to correct them. And mamas is good at that. So I want to encourage you, mamas. You're the hand that rocks the cradle. You are the one that can set the tempo of how a generation is going to be raised. It's not an easy job. It's not a job for the faint, for the faintful. It's not a job for those who don't want it. It's a job that's going to require commitment, dedication, love when you're tired, love when you don't really want, when you want some time to yourself, love when sometimes you just don't understand. But you're going to love them. You're going to care for them. And nobody is going to pick on them. That's the love of a mother. Inseparable. Strong, tight. And if you're a mother that's not like that, the Lord wants to make that for you. The Lord wants to make you into the mother that you want to be. He wants to do that. The love that the Lord Jesus Christ can instill into a mother is incredible. So I want to encourage you to bring your children to church, mothers. And if your mother comes to church, children, come to church with her. Spend some time with her in church. I know I'm saying some things over again, but these are very important. If it's important for her, it should also be important for you in your busy life. I know her children, your mama, her children may have children of their own, and they're going through struggles of trying to raise their children. But I tell you what, ain't nothing like bringing your children around Grandma. Grandma can have the patience and the time to spend with your children, just like she had patience and time with you. Lean upon them. Encourage them, bless them, and love them. Love them. As their bodies grow old, they may not be able to open the jars like they used to. Help them. Help them. Honor them in their later years. Honor them as they become elderly. Always protect them. Always watch out for elderly abuse. You don't want that to happen to your mother. Watch over them because they deserve it. They did it for you. Now it's your turn to watch out for them. God bless you. I hope you enjoyed this message. But again, I want to remind you, enjoy and cherish the moments with your mother. While they're still there, because life is just too short. God bless you. I really mean that. God bless you. And may the Lord bless you and your mother and your family.